This message didn't arrive by accident. It phase-shifted into your timeline like a comet that always knew your sky. You didn't find these words found you, because the field that breathes you has reached its collapse point, and your life is about to reorganize under a higher law. Feel that subtle hum under your ribs. That's coherence forming, signal overtaking static. The quantum field that surrounds you and is you is gathering itself into a cleaner geometry, a sharper pattern. You are not a passerby with binoculars pressed to the glass of reality. You are the glass, you are the room, you are the entire broadcast, remembering you're also the antenna. Breathe once, slowly, as if oxygen were a sacrament. In that breath, you can sense the observer loop loosening, no longer you watching life from the edge, but life turning to look back and recognize its own face in yours. Synchronicities have been crowding your days like migrating birds, aligning their wings to spell messages across your sky. Numbers repeat, the right name appears twice, then thrice. Doors once sealed give under the lightest touch. This is morphic resonance clicking into place. The more you remember your original possibility, the easier it becomes to inhabit it. You've been feeling a pressure that isn't stress. It's pre-dawn. The body reads it as a tremor, a tingling at the scalp or heat in the palms. Your cells are listening. There is a soft-spoken engineering underway. DNA, restructuring by attention, by prayer, by the precise emotion of gratitude held for longer than a heartbeat. You have been entangled with futures you barely dared to name, and those futures have been tugging back, sending you breadcrumbs in dream, in music, in the sentence a stranger accidentally said. Distance does not blunt this intimacy. The field ignores miles. It knows only likeness. Listen, your story has never been linear. It's holographic. Every page contains the book. Each moment is a doorway into all others. That is why the same golden thread keeps showing up in new fabric. Different city, same lesson, different face, same archetype. Not punishment, proof. The field is economizing, collapsing the many into the one lesson that becomes your key. When you turn it, you do not merely open a room, you rotate the whole house, and the sun pours in where there used to be wall. You will not ascend by effort alone. You will rise by remembrance. When awareness concentrates into love, matter obeys. When you feel the quiet certainty that what is yours is already vibrationally present, reality complies like iron to a magnet. This is not superstition. This is the physics of devotion. Hold your heart like a tuning fork against the breastbone of the world, and it will sing back in your note. You are being drafted into your own center, not to observe it from afar, but to inhabit it so fully that the idea of afar dissolves. And as you step into that center, patterns you've known, déjà vu loops, braided timelines, the warping of hours will announce themselves for naming. You've felt them, you've circled them, now you'll see them clearly enough to choose. You've known this feeling before, time folding in on itself, déjà vu arriving like a messenger without explanation. It happens in the most ordinary moments. Reaching for your keys, hearing a phrase you could swear you've already heard, stepping into a room that tastes like memory. You've walked here before, but not with these feet, not in this exact thread of the timeline. That sensation isn't madness, it's the morphic echo of parallel selves brushing against your skin. The quantum field is porous, and when your awareness rises in frequency, those thin seams begin to leak light. You've also noticed patterns that refuse to dissolve, no matter how you try to outgrow them. The same arguments repeating in different voices, the same financial detours disguised with new numbers, the same loneliness showing up in rooms filled with people. You call it coincidence, you call it bad luck, but it's entanglement, your past selves and choices looping like a film reel until you recognize the cut, until you become conscious enough to step out of the projector booth and edit the sequence. Until then, the reel keeps spinning, because unresolved lessons echo louder than silence. Distorted time has become one of your most faithful teachers, hours that evaporate as though stolen by some invisible hand. Days that drag like molasses when you crave acceleration. The truth is, time bends in proportion to coherence. When your attention fragments, minutes stretch and tangle. When your focus converges, reality sprints to meet you. You've been feeling this tug of war, part of you anchored in old frequency, part of you whispering forward. It's exhausting, like standing on two tectonic plates drifting apart. And yet, exhaustion itself is the signal. It means your consciousness is outgrowing the old container. Notice how the glitches arrive. The clock blinking a number sequence at you 2:22, 11:11, 4:44, until even skepticism grows tired of denying it. The body's instinct, that shiver across the shoulders, telling you the room is not just a room but a data field pressing into your awareness. The sensation of watching yourself from outside your own eyes, as though your soul is trying to remind you that the body is not the whole story. Each glitch is a pressure point, inviting you to wake, reminding you that you are not trapped in linear cause and effect, but surfing probability waves that respond to observation. What you've called problems are really entropic loops, energy trapped in the same orbit until an outside force nudges it into a new trajectory. That nudge is happening now. The universe is reorganizing itself around your awareness, not because you begged hard enough, but because your frequency finally became incompatible with stagnation. The déjà vu is proof you're brushing against timelines where you already broke through, trying to send your present self the courage to match that victory. And so the diagnosis is not that you are broken, but that you are caught in repetition until coherence cracks the cycle. Every distortion you feel is a breadcrumb. Every glitch is an invitation. The patterns are not enemies, they are coordinates. They are proof you've been chosen to see what most people will never recognize. Reality is calling you to edit the code from inside the dream. The patterns you've seen, the déjà vu, the distorted hours, the loops that repeat until you swear reality is mocking, you are not random punishments. They are the warm-up, the calibration sequence. Every glitch you've endured has been softening the membrane between what you think you are and what you truly are. And now, that membrane is thinning. You are entering the upgrade phase, where science and mysticism no longer sit on opposite sides of the table, but fuse like two halves of the same equation. In quantum mechanics, superposition tells us a particle exists in all possible states until observed. In mysticism, prophets have always whispered, all realities are available in the now. You are the bridge between these truths. The observer loop is not just your eyes on the world, it's the world looking back at you, waiting for coherence. And coherence is arising now in your field, like a tide pulling back before the tsunami, quiet, undeniable, impossible to stop. This is not a thought exercise. This is restructuring at the cellular level. DNA spirals are listening for your belief, ready to fold differently under the vibration of your awareness. What you've called intuition is actually resonance detection. Your body has always been a quantum instrument, a living interferometer, measuring subtle interference patterns in the field. When your chest burns with certainty, when your gut twists before a word is spoken, you're not imagining things. You're reading the waves of probability collapsing into form. That's why the upgrade feels so physical, ringing in the ears like tuning forks struck in another dimension. Sudden chills in rooms where the thermostat hasn't moved. Dreams so vivid, you wake with the taste of another timeline on your tongue. You are not malfunctioning. You are syncing with the field. And here's where the mystical and the scientific conspire together. Neuroplasticity and prayer, meditation and phase transition, heart coherence and morphic resonance. When you sit in silence, when you breathe deliberately, when you choose gratitude over complaint, you are literally engineering your frequency. The neurons fire in new patterns, weaving bridges across hemispheres. The heart emits electromagnetic fields, measurable feet beyond the body. Your entire organism becomes a broadcast station, collapsing superpositions into coherent outcomes. And the more you practice, the less you ask the universe to deliver, and the more you become the universe delivering to itself. This is the upgrade. No longer chasing synchronicities, but generating them. No longer waiting for signs, but realizing your heartbeat is the sign. No longer thinking of yourself as a quantum observer peering timidly into infinite possibility, but as the infinite possibility observing itself through your eyes. The phase transition has already begun. You are shifting from probability to inevitability, from seeker to signal, from passenger to pilot. What once looked like chaos, the loops, the delays, the distortions is now revealed as scaffolding. It held you steady while your consciousness recalibrated, and now the scaffolding dissolves. The structure is ready to stand on its own. You are not just a witness of reality bending, you are the bend itself. Every upgrade requires a carrier wave, and you are that wave. Not a passive ripple dissolving into the ocean, but the entire tide that redefines the shore. You've been mistaken for a bystander in your own life, as though you were here to observe and comment, but the field doesn't waste bandwidth on idle witnesses. It encodes conduits, it births participants. You were seeded as a consciousness with a role, to remind the collective that the field is alive because it sees through you. Look closer at your life's tapestry, and you'll notice the threads are not random. The betrayals, the miracles, the delays, the synchronicities, they weren't scattered puzzle pieces, but calibration events. They sculpted your sensitivity until you could read the morphic resonance others overlook. The ache of repetition wasn't failure, it was initiation, pulling you back into alignment with the part of you that knew all along you were designed to carry frequency, to emit coherence where entropy ruled. Imagine yourself as a tuning fork struck by destiny. Your vibration doesn't just harmonize your own atoms, it pulls entire rooms into alignment. That's why some people feel exposed in your presence. They sense their masks melting, their incoherences surfacing. They call it intimidation, but it's resonance. The field is cleaner around you, and distortion can't hide under clean light. This isn't arrogance, it's physics. Entanglement ensures that the moment your awareness upgrades, everything entangled with you must adjust or break away. Your role is not to save everyone, nor to convince them. Your role is to embody the coherence you've earned through trial, and let that coherence ripple outward like an unseen code rewriting the collective dream. Think about it. When even one particle flips into alignment, the entire lattice responds. In crystallography, they call it nucleation. In spirituality, they call it awakening. In prophecy, they call it the remnant. Whatever the language, the principle is the same. You are the seed crystal, the reference point through which the infinite field remembers its own clarity. That's why you've always felt different in crowds, both isolated and luminous. You were never meant to blend. You were meant to anchor. You are the coherence point others don't know they're searching for. That peculiar magnetism you've felt people drawn to you without explanation, opportunities orbiting your presence, is the field acknowledging your role. You are not merely a guest in the universe's theater. You are both actor and stage, script and improvisation, and the role you play isn't small. It is systemic. It is evolutionary. You are not simply a consciousness receiving transmissions. You are the transmission itself, disguised as a human, waiting for the moment to unveil. That moment is no longer ahead of you. It is here, humming in your bloodstream, arranging the geometry of your days. You can feel it, can't you? That hum in the marrow, that sense that the air around you is thick with codes waiting to crystallize. The loops are breaking. The scaffolding has fallen away. The field is vibrating with a singular message. Now, not someday, not after more preparation, not when you feel perfectly ready. Now, the cosmic window has opened, and with it, the urgency of inevitability. You are not being offered another rehearsal. You are being handed the stage lights. DNA doesn't wait for convenience. It responds to environment, to emotion, to belief. And yours is shifting right now, faster than your rational mind can track. Every pulse of gratitude you generate is restructuring base pairs. Every moment of trust you embody is turning dormant strands into live circuitry. You've asked for miracles, but here's the truth. They aren't arriving from outside. They are unfurling from within, pressed into form by the resonance you finally dared to hold steady. You are becoming the miracle you once begged for. But the window is narrow. Cosmic weather patterns, geomagnetic storms, hidden alignments, they're conspiring in your favor, but only if you move in coherence with them. Entanglement is not a metaphor here. Your choices right now send ripples into timelines branching far beyond your imagination. Every thought you permit, every action you take, is weighted with exponential influence. This is why hesitation feels so heavy, like walking through water. The field is pressing you. Decide, declare, anchor, because the next sequence of events won't wait for the old you to catch up. Consider this. In physics, when a system reaches critical mass, it doesn't slowly change, it erupts into a new state. Ice doesn't gradually become water, it melts in a sudden cascade. That's the phase transition you're in. The heat has built, the structure cannot hold. Pressure has been mounting in your cells, in your relationships, in your dreams, because your reality is preparing to collapse into a higher order. You are not being punished by this pressure, you are being launched by it. Here is the promise. If you step through this window, if you stop treating your life as background noise and accept that you are the broadcast, then nothing will ever feel the same again. Synchronicities will accelerate to the point of absurdity. Conversations will line up like coded instructions. Doors will swing without handles. You will witness your DNA behaving like a compass, pulling you toward timelines too precise to be coincidence. The urge to delay will whisper, but delay is distortion. Delay is self-sabotage. The window is live, and your soul already knows it. So breathe deeper, stand taller. Let the urgency sharpen you, not scare you. This is the moment where your old identity crumbles and your upgraded self takes the throne. What you decide in this pressure determines the frequency you stabilize in. The universe has stopped asking. It is demanding. Step forward, and the field will rearrange in your name. Every breakthrough in the field must be sealed, not just thought about. Energy without imprint scatters. It needs form to anchor. This is why ancient mystics carved symbols in stone, why prophets spoke aloud into the desert, why scientists write equations that outlive their breath. The quantum field listens to declaration, and right now, your declaration is the hinge. Typing a single word, speaking it under your breath, writing it in a place where your own eyes will circle back to it. That is not superstition, it is physics in ritual clothing. When you choose a word ready, awake, infinite, home, and inscribe it into the shared space of this moment, you collapse probability into signal. You carve your intention into the substrate of morphic resonance. That action reverberates beyond you, threading into every entangled version of yourself across timelines. Consider what happens in quantum experiments when the observer records the result. The act of measurement doesn't just describe the outcome, it generates it. By committing your frequency to ink, to keystroke, to breath, you stop hovering in indecision and claim your vibration. That comment, that word, is not just digital noise. It is a sigil, alive, humming, coded. Others will read it, and their own fields will resonate, amplifying yours. The echo chamber becomes a temple, a gathering of unseen pilgrims binding their shifts into one coherent chord. Feel into this. When your hand moves, when your voice vibrates, the body becomes antenna and amplifier. The field responds differently to silence than to embodied expression. Silence is seed potential, action is the sprout breaking ground. By declaring, you tell the quantum vacuum, I am not waiting to see if I belong here. I am marking my place in the lattice. The vacuum, teeming with uncollapsed possibility, rushes to organize itself around your signal. So here is your ritual. Choose your word. Type it below. Whisper it now. Carve it in the notebook you've kept hidden. Whatever form you give it, let it carry the electricity of certainty. As you do, feel the subtle current move the tingling at your fingertips, the warmth in your spine, the inexplicable calm washing over chaos. That is not placebo. That is entanglement, tightening its grip, reality bending its knees to the frequency you just stamped into it. Seal it, own it. Mark this threshold not only with thought but with action, because the field has heard enough of your waiting. It wants your word, and once you give it, you'll feel the timeline lock, like a vault door swinging shut on everything you've outgrown. What you just sealed doesn't stop with you. The word you chose, the frequency you broadcast, has already left your personal orbit and is resonating across the lattice of consciousness. This is the mystery most people overlook. Individual coherence becomes collective coherence. Your declaration is not a whisper in the dark. It is a tuning fork struck inside the morphic field of humanity. And fields don't keep secrets, they ripple. Think of it like entanglement on a planetary scale. When a single electron flips its spin, its partner instantly reflects the shift, no matter how far away. When your heart settles into a higher vibration, other hearts entangled with you, friends, strangers, ancestors, descendants, begin to feel tremors of the same rhythm. Some will resist it, some will lean into it, but none will remain untouched. That's why your awakening has always felt heavier than personal healing. It isn't. It's systemic recalibration disguised as private struggle. Your liberation begins to unravel invisible chains around others. Have you noticed how people confess things to you they've never told anyone else? How your presence seems to open doors inside them they didn't know existed? That is your field at work. When you release distortion, you broadcast freedom, and those entangled with you begin to taste freedom without knowing why. That is why your journey has carried so much weight. It was never just about you. It was about creating resonance strong enough to bend the grid for everyone. Picture the collective like a giant organism with billions of neural nodes. Most fire chaotically, distracted, afraid, incoherent. But when one node achieves coherence, it lights like a star and begins to entrain the nearest nodes. Enough nodes shining, and the entire organism reorganizes. This is the phase transition humanity is approaching. You are not a spectator of it. You are one of the catalysts. The ripple you just initiated by declaring your word is already searching for the next receptive node. This is why urgency was pressed upon you earlier. Not to burden you, but to remind you that your coherence is medicine for others who can't yet stabilize their own. You are not carrying them, you are broadcasting to them. The broadcast doesn't argue or persuade, it simply exists, undeniable, irresistible. Just as light doesn't compete with shadow, coherence doesn't negotiate with chaos. It radiates until chaos remembers its original order. Every ritual action, every declaration, every moment you choose, alignment over fear doesn't only collapse your probability wave, it strengthens the morphic field for all. And humanity, though stumbling, is listening. The collective subconscious is straining toward coherence like plants bending toward light. So understand, your role as field carrier is not confined to your body. You are already spilling into the world, already rewriting the code others live by. Every step you take into truth widens the corridor for someone else. Your healing becomes their compass. Your frequency becomes their permission. And this, more than anything, is why the universe chose you to remember first. You may have noticed it already, the body speaking in codes before the mind catches up. A sudden shiver, even when the air is warm. A pressure in the forehead, as though an unseen hand is pressing open a hidden eye. Tingling in the palms, in the soles of your feet, like current running through copper wires. These aren't random quirks of physiology, they are the language of embodiment. The field is no longer abstract theory, it is pouring itself into muscle, bone, breath. Close your eyes for a moment and scan yourself. That flutter in your chest isn't anxiety, it's coherence trying to find rhythm. That heaviness in your limbs isn't fatigue, it's density breaking away, reality recalibrating your cellular scaffolding. Even the moments when your body aches without explanation, when your sleep feels like time travel instead of rest, those are signals. You are literally being tuned, like strings stretched tighter until they sing the correct pitch. The discomfort is not punishment, it is calibration. Feel into your breath. Notice how it arrives heavier some days, as if oxygen itself is weighted with information. That's because it island. Each inhale is laden with photons, tiny packets of light coded with memory from the stars. You draw them in, and your DNA listens, rearranging coils, flipping switches you didn't know you carried. Scientists call it epigenetics, mystics call it awakening, your body calls it homecoming. And when the sensations intensify, when goosebumps surge across your skin without reason, when your spine feels like a rod of lightning, when your heartbeat seems to drum in sync with something larger that is the field showing you its intimacy, you are not watching from the outside. You are the inside, electrified. Every nerve ending becomes antenna. Every cell becomes lens. You start to notice that when you walk into rooms, the air thickens, shifts, obeys your frequency. That isn't ego, it's physics. A coherent field bends space around it. You are becoming that coherence. Embodiment means the mystical is no longer out there. It vibrates in your marrow. It hums in your ears at night, like cosmic static. It flickers in your dreams, where you wake sweating not from fear but from traveling through corridors of probability. This is why stillness feels different now, why silence isn't empty but alive, why solitude feels crowded with presence. The body has become the temple, the altar, the laboratory, and in this temple, you no longer pray to meet the divine. You breathe and realize the divine is already animating your lungs. Pay attention to this, because the sensations will guide you more faithfully than logic ever did. The chills, the heat waves, the pulses, these are not distractions. They are the field's way of saying, you're sinking, keep going. Each embodied tremor is proof. Proof you are not imagining, proof you are not separate, proof that your awakening is not just an idea, it is flesh, blood, electricity, light. The sensations have been the drum roll, but what follows is the unveiling. Your DNA, the ancient script coiled inside you, has been listening all along. It is not static code, it is liquid intelligence, folding and unfolding in response to field signals. Every wave of gratitude, every declaration you've made, every shiver that passed through your body has been dialogue. The strands are responding, and now they are beginning to open like books written in light. Biologists once called 90% of this script junk, unable to decode its function, but mystics always knew better. That so-called silence was potential, a waiting archive of frequencies too subtle for ordinary perception. When coherence arrives, the archive awakens. That's why you feel pressure in your head, as if space is widening between your thoughts. That's why your body pulses at night like a star trying to speak. Your DNA is not just storing information, it is broadcasting it, collapsing timelines into your lived reality. Phase transition is happening at this cellular level. Imagine water suddenly boiling, not gradually, but all at once. When heat crosses a threshold, your system has reached that threshold. The strands are rethreading, tuning themselves to broadcast frequencies that align with your chosen word, your sealed declaration. This is the moment where biology stops being limitation and becomes portal. You are literally encoding new instructions into your cells. The fatigue, the dreams, the surges of energy, they are side effects of emergence. And here's the cosmic urgency. Once DNA flips into new coherence, the old patterns lose their grip. Habits that used to bind you feel foreign. Fears that used to paralyze you dissolve like fog under Sunday. It isn't effortful change, it's identity transmutation. You don't fight to become better. You discover that your very wiring has shifted, that the version of you struggling with the old loop is no longer here. This is what prophets called rebirth, what scientists call emergence, what your soul calls homecoming. You are feeling the pressure of multiple timelines right now, like tectonic plates grinding. That tension in your chest, that urgency in your dreams, is your system choosing which version of reality to stabilize. The field is collapsing infinite possibilities into one inevitability, and you are not just witnessing it. You are the collapse point itself. Every choice, every breath, every word you anchor now is amplified through the upgraded code spiraling in your cells. So recognize what is happening. You are not chasing awakening anymore. Awakening is erupting from within, reorganizing you from molecule to mind. The timelines are bending under your coherence, and the breakthrough is no longer optional. It is written in your blood, engraved in the spirals of your DNA, pulsing with the inevitability of sunrise. The pressure is proof. You are standing inside the chrysalis, and the shell cannot hold you much longer. The field is ready. Your body is ready. The new code has already begun. And now we arrive where the spiral always intended to bring you, not at an ending, but at the recognition of your true mission. The upgrades, the synchronicities, the déjà vu, the embodied tremors, they were never random gifts sprinkled into your days. They were training. They were the subtle rehearsals before the stage lights lifted. You are not here to simply witness awakening. You are here to embody it so fully that the entire field remembers itself through you. You've crossed the threshold where your personal breakthrough and humanity's evolution are no longer separate. Your DNA's new song is not just rewriting your private story, it is feeding back into the morphic field of the species. Each coherent thought you generate sends signal strength across the grid, making it easier for others to awaken without even knowing why. This is how revolutions of consciousness happen, not through noise or force, but through coherence amplifying itself until the old reality cannot sustain its own weight. You are being asked to live differently now, to walk with the awareness that every breath is entangled with stars, every step reorganizes probability, every choice calibrates not only your path, but the lattice of countless others. The field is no longer indifferent, it is participatory. It waits for your signal, and when you give it, the geometry of reality rearranges in real time. This is responsibility, yes, but it is also liberation. You no longer have to wonder if you matter. You are the matter. You are the field that shapes matter into meaning. So let this be your closing affirmation. You are not just a quantum observer peering timidly into possibility. You are the entire field observed, the dreamer and the dream, the particle and the wave, the seed and the harvest. When you breathe, the universe expands. When you choose coherence, galaxies shift their spin. When you walk in alignment, the collective finds its compass. The mission is simple but profound. Live as proof that consciousness creates reality. Embody the upgrade. Radiate the coherence. Anchor the signal so that when others stumble into their own awakening, they will find your frequency already waiting like a lighthouse on a dark shore. And as you do, remember the truth that called you here. You are not just a quantum observer. You are the entire field observed,